I did this thing, it's kind of a little bit of a troll. I posted in the Facebook, in one of the DTF groups, I need transfers in Phoenix, Arizona. Who can print transfers for me pretty quickly. And I started the post at the beginning of my talk. And I want to say by the end of the talk, there were like 50 different people that have commented saying like, we can take care of your transfers. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, a race to the bottom.
Real quick, we've got a couple partners that always help us put on a fun show for you guys. First up is Multicraft Daddy. Multicraft Daddy is on Instagram at multicraft_daddy. Guys, you know the drill. If you haven't won yet, you need to open up your Instagram app and you need to send him a DM on Instagram and put in your email address so that Dave can not only be able to pick you as a winner, hopefully, but can also tag you in all of his new dad videos and dad reels and dad jokes, which are awesome. And I appreciate you being able to do that, Dave. Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies have been around for 50 plus years, providing the industry with top brands at competitive pricing. Plus, you mentioned the Printavo pod that gets you an extra 10% off your first order.
Dave has almost 1,150 followers.
Yeah, he's posting Maniac right now. It's great.
Maniac. Easy way. Are you spending hours cleaning dirty screens? Well, spending hours cleaning screens is a thing of the past with EasyWay's screen printing and screen cleaning chemicals. Their innovative formulas are designed to work quickly and effectively so you can spend less time cleaning and more time creating. Plus, EasyWay is passionate about empowering printers of all skill levels. They offer helpful resources and expert advice to help you succeed in screen printing. We use EasyWay at Campus Inc. 701-842. It is the easiest way. It is the only way. Go shop EasyWay. Thanks so much, EasyWay.
DGIapparel.com. It's a new software platform that hit the industry. It helps you be able to easily manage purchasing. It saves so much time. Not only that, it's integrated with Printavo now, so it's sucking out all those orders that you need to be able to handle purchasing for. You can compare pricing, inventory, ship times across different apparel suppliers, and pull your exact prices as well, because you'll connect up your accounts to them. Not only that, DGI is free. DGIapparel.com costs you $0 to use. You could sign up, DGIapparel.com, and join the other 1,500 shops using it to save time and money on their purchasing.
All right. Graphic Source. I was just with Nick Wood yesterday, and he was looking great. If you need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, you should hit up Graphic Source. They are Campus Inc.'s back-end art department, as well as several other hundreds of Printavo shops. They plug and play with Printavo and other shop management software. And when it comes to SEPs, mocks, creative art, order management, embroidery, digitizing, back office admin, and customer service, there's no better company in our industry to work with. They have over 40 years in the game. They have a proven track record of success. You can hit them up. Tell them that we sent you, and you can use the code PrintavoPod24 for 50% off your first vector, SEP, or embroidery order. Thanks so much, Graphic Source.
All right, let's jump on in. All right, we're live. Welcome back.
What's up?
Hey, Printers, welcome back to the show. Your weekly episode of the latest and greatest. From me, Bruce, Steven here. We're at Campus Inc.'s office. Appreciate letting us use this space. I was in Chicago, so we figured why not record in person. Got a couple things to talk about, actually.
Southwest reseating? Is that faux? Fable?
Yeah. So if you don't know, Southwest is my preferred airline because of Companion Pass.
Carry on.
And then, of course, they said they're reseating. They're going to have better seats. They're going to have premium upgrades and so on. As a Southwest flyer, that's exciting, right? That's great. It's got a very quick airline in Chicago, or a very quick airport in Chicago. It's got Companion Pass, so my Wi-Fi is free. But the premium seat upgrades where they took the first row, which is the spacious one, and the exit row, and that's going to be the upgrade. That's going to be the first class seating. And I was just, I was like, wow, okay. I guess I assumed they were going to rejigger things around to be a true first class, but no. Steven's giving me his United Airlines referral code, so maybe we're getting closer and closer to that.
Someday. Anyways, what's new?
Okay. I just want to make a quick announcement about receiving. Printavo Receiving is out, which is really, really cool. And especially because over the years, it's, development for software, as you see, gets really, really quick. And then it starts to slow down as things get more mature and you have to do a lot more maintenance and all that other stuff. But the fact that they got V1, the product team got V1 receiving out is insane. To be able to tie that to purchase orders or to an order status, and then to be able to check in goods in there and keep track of all that is pretty cool.
I think, Bruce, when you told me it was coming out, I always give Bruce a lot of shit. I'm like, well, gosh, I hope they make sure they build it against invoices. And sure enough, when they deployed it, they built it for those two different use cases. So like, we don't purchase from purchase order, we purchase out of invoices. And they made it in such a way where you can go, I want to go purchase orders or invoices. You click on invoices. And then as you check in, it shows up on the invoice, like right under that line item. And then like, if it's not there, it shows up as red. Absolute game changer. That was the one thing holding us back from being really paperless. And from what I've heard from our team so far, like they love it.
Damn, so that's cool.
Good job.
You could see a demo. We'll drop a link down below. Also, that was almost a year of the product team and engineering team working on that. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. I mean, we don't know what it takes to build and re-engineer something and like all the changes. And I think, I was just reading in one of the forums this morning of someone like, you get your keyboard warriors sometimes. And sure enough, like we rely so much on some features at Printavo, like we can't live without, right? We can't live without status change notifications. We can't live without, some of the automation and approvals. And, we are excited that now some of these bolt-on features are starting to roll out. So thank you.
I was helping in support the other day, actually. I don't know how much you've dug into Zapier recently, but I was helping a shop. They were stuck on a Zap. And I didn't realize, actually, because I haven't done this in some time, what is possible with Zap, what's called webhooks with Zapier. And so you can update invoices based on certain changes. So what they had is essentially when it went into a certain status for the embroidery department, it went to an email address. That email address belongs to Zapier. So you can say, okay, when an order hits this status, then change the order's nickname to this.
That's like the burner email we used to do.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing.
Huh.
And so it triggered a status change automation, email Zapier. Zapier ingests the order number. They do a find order to find the order number. So now you've got the order. And then they update the order's nickname and some other fields. And they were a little bit stuck, but now it's running. And it was like, whoa, I haven't played around with this in a while, and it is powerful.
The other cool thing about Zapier is now they have an AI bot to start. You just write what you want the Zap to do, and it builds the Zap for you. And so it'll like say like, okay, you're going to need to connect this app, this app, this app, and this app. And so you basically just talk to it.
Whoa.
Yeah. What's interesting is when you built Printavo out, you're like, well, we're going to have an open API, and we're going to integrate it with Zapier. And we really didn't understand what that meant. But now, like, when we utilize a piece of software, those are the first two questions we ask. Like, does it have an open API, and does it work with Zapier? If it doesn't answer those two questions, we don't use that software.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because you don't get the integrations?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with a shop right now on another competitor of Printavo. I think you have to have a server in your shop to run it. It does a really good job at some things. And they're like, we want to do automated texting. And I'm like,
you're not. Yeah.
Or like, hey, is there a way we could do this? Like, how do we send a chasing sequence for a review? And I was like, I don't know. So,
yeah, and that is interesting. I think when you pick software tools for anything in the business, is how much scalability will this give you? So I remember when we picked an HR solution, like for payroll and time off requests and all that stuff, I didn't want the high end, crazy one, but I also didn't want one that I knew we may outgrow with 50 people in a few years. And then you have to redo everything in a new tool. We went with Gusto, which I think
we use it.
Yeah, it definitely scaled over time. And I know now with new owners and stuff, they've moved to a different tool because they wanted more reporting and some other things. You can get yourself bogged into, it's always this weird balance, right? Of can you solve the solution now with what you have versus can you spend a little bit more time with a better solution that gives you 3 years, 5 years of runway?
What's interesting is like, I've always been using Gusto for a pretty long time now. And it was always a premium and it was always expensive, but it was always the simplest, most easy to use. And I didn't have to think about it. And so like at the time, maybe it was like $500 a month and maybe it went up to like $800 a month or something like that. And then, they offered like other HR solutions. So like your 401k, sexual harassment training, let's see, like your health insurance. It just did all of it.
Yeah.
And so,
one click did it too.
And so when we brought our CFO on, I was like, look, this is the tool we use right now. It's probably expensive. You could probably go to another one. And he's like, with how easy this is, I don't care what it costs, because if this didn't run this way, I would have to hire another employee just to do this. And so like, when you're thinking about those decisions, it's less about how much it costs per month and more of what it saves you, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like how much time it's going to take to clunk something else together that's cheaper maybe.
I think time now, but also time in even just 1 year. Like, right. Could you see this saving X amount of time in 1 year that you wouldn't have to spend? Because the problems just get bigger and bigger, the complications. You talk about the integrations, things, talking to each other. Yeah. If you have someone manually copying and doing this or that.
Like employee filing for remote employees, like we have to register in every state we have an employee.
Oh my God.
Or for instance, like sales tax, we're registered in 49 states, but like we wouldn't do it without like TaxJar.
Does TaxJar, when you start doing that, they don't register you in the States, right?
Oh, like now they do. They
will auto register you for you.
There's like a portal, basically. It's like, okay, you've hit a threshold in Arkansas, so you need to register there now. And so then like you go through this thing, pay a fee, whatever. It's like, okay, you're filed, you're registered, and then like it auto files in as many states as it can for you too.
That's a big deal with e-com. And I know people skirt around it by just paying the taxes in their own state, but it is even though Shopify and TaxJars help to be able to do this, gosh, I mean, just registering and staying compliant in the different states is awful. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is Fabric.ink. So you guys may remember we talked about Fabric.ink as a community we started running. We have found a lot of success in having a coach be able to work with us in a group setting to hold us accountable to the goals we want to hit, to be able to solve problems that we are having, to be able to share wins from the past month, and just continue to help us push us forward. We launched this a few months ago. We have 3 groups now. It's ran by an EOS certified, Attraction certified business coach, Michael, who's been incredible. And I just wanted to share a couple lessons learned, I thought, which was pretty cool. So first of all, I don't know if you realize this, maybe you did because you're in the weeds, but like, I know I have had this problem and thought this could be helpful for me, but I didn't realize how many other shops. I mean, we got a ton of applications the first time around they're like, hey, raising my hand, I have the same thing. I sort of am working in a silo and I'm in a bubble. I want to be able to get outside this day-to-day, chug. How do I be able to grow beyond that with a group?
Yeah. All my employees are walking in right now, so they're all looking at us and just laughing. They're all coming off the elevator. But it's almost like it was like Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, yeah, like it's almost like, a whole group of people that are like, we need to get healthy. And it's like, yes, me too. Or like, we all are suffering from the same sickness or the same plague, or we all, and it was the same thing over and over again in the applications is I'm trying to automate my company. I'm trying to let go. I'm trying to delegate. I'm trying to get my life back. I'm trying to get a business that actually doesn't run my life, but that complements my life. And it takes a lot of courage to admit that. But I think what was really interesting is once we started seeing all these applications, we're like, oh, like this is a widespread problem, I think, with all small business owners anywhere. I think what's also really cool, and a lot of shops have asked us, like, so Bruce, Kevin, do you guys do the coaching? And we're like, no, we are not the coaches. We hire facilitators that are experts. And Michael Richmond, who runs these first couple of groups, I mean, he's got like an agenda of like how to be held accountable, like a scorecard activity, goal setting. Everyone goes around and talks about like the best piece of business advice. Everyone gets 4 minutes to present top and bottom of 5 of things that occurred last time you chatted. Something you want feedback on the group on. And so far, I think our cohorts have had maybe 1 or 2 meetings, and feedback has been pretty good. We definitely have some things we need to work on, but like for first launch, we're pretty happy.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna open it up on a second cohort. So if you're interested, go to Fabric.ink. You can hit apply. We'll do a quick Zoom meeting and then start to combine for the next few groups. Yeah. So yeah, excited about that.
And I think we'll probably do another 3 or 4. I don't think we're trying to go crazy. It's just like another 3 groups, find 8 or 9 people that are going to gel really well. And I think that was probably something we spent a ton of time doing, was seeing who applied and then trying to craft these perfect groups. So you would be in a group with someone that's in a non-competitive geography, in your revenue target, in your niche, so that you can actually relate to them and stuff like that. So yeah.
Fabric.ink. All right. DTF Expo.
DTF Expo.
I just wanted a quick recap to know how it went, because I don't think we talked since you were there. You had a presentation that had a spicy title. I don't want to misquote. What was the title?
It was called DTF Doomsday. Full disclosure, Adrian and the team at DTF Superstore put it on, and I spoke last year, and they're like, okay, invited me back to talk, and like, what's the title of your thing? And I was like, I don't know, I'll get something. And then I was like late, of course. They're like, what's the title? I was like, DTF Doomsday, and they're like, what's it about? And I'm like, you'll figure it out then.
You're scaring the show organizers.
But really, so DTF Expo, it's like a smaller event. And the best way to put it is like, you could just go, if you want to buy a DTF machine, you could just go to DTF Expo, because you'll see every piece of equipment literally like right down the row. But then what you'll also see is like other software tools, like gang sheets, like companies that do gang sheets, and companies that, just like different tools I didn't even think about. So it was definitely like a cool experience, definitely a little bit smaller, but like definitely more intimate, if that makes sense. Some really, really cool talks. And I think the audience there is a little different. I think when you go to ISS Long Beach, it's more of shops that might be a little bit more established. And I think these are more like maybe shops that do a couple $100,000. I think I pulled the room and most people had under 5 employees. So yeah, really, really well done. Super nice to be in Arizona. There was a couple happy hours. The team did a really good job there. It was a lot of fun to see everyone.
Was there any tools, machines, softwares that you saw that were,
yeah,
maybe we should try this?
So like, I didn't look at a single in my opinion, right? Like, we have machines that run well right now. And so I'm not trying to completely throw that out. I think the machines are getting better and faster right now. Like, Roland's coming out with them. Amaki's coming out with them. They're still Chinese machines. So like, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at the actual machines, but they do have now cutters that are starting to cut transfers, like on basically like it looks like a treadmill, and then it has a cutter that will cut your transfers out. And so that's something that I'm interested in, because we spend a lot of time cutting transfers. And so there are some like nesting softwares that are out there. M&R had their new press there. I forget what it's called. That's basically a bunch of heat presses on an auto. That was pretty cool.
Like a competitor to the Rock.
Yeah, the Rock Impress. So I think there were a couple robots there that were grabbing transfers and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Like, have you seen the Rock Impress?
At Long Beach.
Yeah, they have a cool video on YouTube that is start to finish, placing a transfer, pressing it, and then they have the auto peeler that are like these 2 little fingers that pull it off, and it puts it in a trash bin. I mean, that's the way it's going, right? That's the way it's going.
Well, and it pulls the shirt off too.
Yeah. It's sick.
Can you share any highlights then from your talk? So DTF Doomsday, what's the TLDR?
So really the big message I was going to try and say is like, do you have thoughtful enough sales and a plan to actually own a DTF machine? Have you actually studied how much you spend on transfers to know that you warrant it? Do you have 6 months of sales where you could say like, this is justified? Do you have the runway to pay for an employee? And we broke down, what it costs to actually run the machine per year. And so we said like, with everything, and labor, it's like $65,000 a year to run a DTF machine.
And so can I share this or just
sure,
through it?
Sure.
So on the machine payment, you say $800 ink, $300 film, $200 labor, $4,000. That's a monthly. This is monthly of $5,300. So on an annual basis, that's about $64,000.
Mm-hmm. And so like, if you're not spending that on transfers, don't buy a machine.
So the thought is that people aren't, you don't think about this fully. You just think about the payment maybe.
Well, you think about the payment, and then I think you also think about your time. Like, I'll just print them. And so the second you decide to run your own DTF machine, you're basically buying yourself an hourly job. And I don't think people realize that. Like, oh, I'm just going to run it at night. First of all, you're going to hate running it. Don't do that.
You told me about your nighttime DTF stories.
Or they're like, oh, I'll just have an employee learn how to do it or whatever. And it's like, if you do it yourself, you are now you are no longer a business owner. You're a $20 an hour employee. And so like, if you spend 20 hours a week printing, it's $400 that, but people don't put that time in, right? Like they don't measure it when you're just doing it yourself. So I think that's a mistake a lot of small business owners make because they don't value their time there.
What about people sell? Did you hear a lot of folks wanting to sell transfers too?
So I did this thing. It's kind of a little bit of a troll. Sorry if you were a part of it. I posted in the Facebook in one of the DTF groups, and I said, I need transfers in Phoenix, Arizona. Who can print transfers for me pretty quickly? And I started the post at the beginning of my talk.
That's hilarious.
And here's the QR. And then I put a QR code up and I said, let's see how many comments we get by the end of the talk. And I want to say by the end of the talk, there were like 50 different people that have commented saying like, we can take care of your transfers.
Wow.
And so like, I was like, ladies and gentlemen, a race to the bottom.
That's clever.
And then the other thing that I did is I put on there, let's see, on this slide, I had signs of the apocalypse, the DTF apocalypse. And I had a picture of Waymo, Rivian, and a Cybertruck. And then a logo of like Stahl's Supercolor FM Expressions. Right. And I was like, look, these guys are, like Ninja Transfers, these guys are investing millions of dollars into transfers. Do you think you're going to build the next electric car if you've got these companies investing so much? Like, they're going to get faster, cheaper, stronger, better, quicker. And then they're going to drive the price down because that's an economy of scale that they can do. And so like, if you're in the business of selling transfers to other shops, be careful because, if I can get next day transfers and the technology is good and the tools are good and the customer service is good, there's not much that makes you defensible, And so that's the comparison I made is be careful. And you can't blame them for that, right?
Mm-hmm. That sounds like an awesome presentation, especially for a product that's already on the lower end.
Yeah, I don't think I helped DTF sales that weekend.
Well, starting with DTF Doomsday as the presentation title, probably. I mean, that's interesting though, right? That would attract me. It's good clickbait.
What's funny is like I had people after like, oh, our machines, you're not going to have to purge them. I'm like, okay. Like salespeople after were trying to explain to me like why their machines were better. And I'm like, all right.
Were people really interested with the M&R heat press automatic thing?
I think, again, time and a place, right? Like, is a shop... I wonder if a shop would buy that before buying an auto. I don't know. I don't know how much it is. I bet you it's between $50,000 and $100,000. I just want to keep seeing what I look at it as like contract shops that have to do long runs of transfers that don't want to buy a digital squeegee. So, because like, would you rather buy that to do full color? Or would you rather buy the Polaris that's like $1 million? Just run DTF machines in this thing. So I don't know. Do you know anyone that has them, like the Rock Impress or the...
I only talked to Rock at the show, and they said that the unit on the floor was sold, and that that unit was their most sold press for, I want to say this past year, but Ross, correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe the interest is there, right? For what you said, for high color count, stuff that they don't want to set up a press for and or tie up a press for, or not buy the big, super expensive digital printer.
Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy? You can buy a DTG machine right now for like $2,000. Like a Brother GTX. Dude, they're for sale everywhere.
Is that, what was the price maybe 3 years ago?
I don't know. GTX was $20,000 to $30,000.
Whoa.
Maybe like the Epsons were 15 or 20. Like, you could buy one cheap now. Isn't that crazy? The death of DTG.
The next talk.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I wanted to share with you was an experience I had recently. So my wife and I were on a vacation, and it made me think. So the people were so nice. The experience was so good. And I realized after, I was like, wow, they really, even though you're not, maybe in this VIP package or VIP hotel room type situation, or you've got this crazy loyalty, credit card or status, that they made us feel like VIPs over that stay. And I was thinking, why was that? Like, why did I feel that? Because it wasn't just at the hotel. It was this full experience. It was all of it. And so I wrote down the points that made us feel like that, because I feel like there is some relation to, can you make customers that you want to continue returning feel like a VIP? Like, what are the aspects that made me feel it that way? And some of them weren't that expensive and or were free, actually. So this is what I wanted to share. So first of all, fast responses. So you've been at a hotel where, and usually it's abroad. I don't know why they don't do this in the States, but they use WhatsApp so much more, right? So if you've ever been abroad, it's like your whole life changes to WhatsApp, basically, for all communication, which is great. But the thing that they did really well with WhatsApp is they responded. Like, this was maybe 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh, shoot, it says print your boarding pass, at the airport. I obviously don't have a printer. I don't want to go look for a business center, whatever. And so I got the PDFs. I put it into WhatsApp. I was like, hey, is there any way you guys would be able to print this? And 30 seconds later, whoever responded was like, yeah, I'll have them down at the desk for you. Like, I'm just going to print them off real quickly now. So, going above and beyond being able to do that was incredible. But I think more importantly, responding quickly was free for them to be able to do, and added so much value to the experience that we had.
And it instantly, once you go to like a text message, like WhatsApp, you just feel like this barrier is now kind of taken down, and it feels much more relaxed. Mm-hmm. It feels like you have like friends helping you out versus like, and I do think internationally they do answer email really quickly. If you've ever noticed.
I was very surprised by that. We emailed, I had a question with, booking something beforehand. I didn't even arrive at the hotel yet. And I emailed them, and my expectations were so low that I was like 50-50 shot I'd get anything back. Responded within 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. You know what I've started to do is like checking to see what the customer service level of different companies are. Just as like, okay, I had an interesting experience. Like, let me email Uber and see what happens, or let me email Grubhub and see what happens, right? And I think it's really eye opening when you go to these other countries, and maybe there's some culture stuff too, right? Like, they depend so much on tourism, they think they treat it like it's gold to them. But just to like learn how these different companies or these different organizations. So, on the inspiration of WhatsApp, our top clients get invited into Slack with us, because if they can just chat us, they'll just be our friends. And if they're our friends, then they'll buy more stuff from us. So like, we try to get to text message or Slack as quickly as possible, right? And I wonder, if businesses like ours took that approach more, could they create a deeper relationship with their customers? Like I wonder if Gusto had a Slack and I would just Slack them.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember when Stripe first launched, they actually had that.
Really?
And that was where they got bug feedback and everything.
Huh.
Obviously way too big now, but yeah, they had a Slack channel.
What else came on your vacation? Yeah.
So the other thing that I thought was neat and notable was a check-in with a personal message, but not related to trying to upsell me at something. So normally a hotel will
Or
be
get
like
a tip.
the iPad slide around. Normally the message is, hey, we've got this thing, or do you want to upgrade to that, or do you want to book this? And, it's kind of, you feel like it's mass blasted, whatever, you just move on. But this was, they literally wrote this. It says, hey, Bruce, we were just talking about you. Hope things are going well. Let me know if you need anything, right? And granted, we were there. I told them that was my wife's birthday, and so like we set up this dinner and stuff there, so it was nice. But I thought that sentence, we were just talking about you, was pretty. You thought it was weird. I thought it was nice. I was like, oh wow, that was really cool.
What were they talking about?
Well, I think it was relevant because it was her birthday, and so they were setting up. We did this like luau dinner after. So
yeah, that's an interesting hook. Hey, me and my coworkers were just talking about you.
I think that could be interesting. And also I think that statement there could be used in a lot of, cold email outreach or just following up and just checking in on someone without asking for anything. I think that was
And then you mentioned something to me about like them just coming up with stuff before you asked, like you were on a tour or something, or?
Well, at the car rental place, this guy was overly helpful. And I think there's two pieces to this. One, he was just genuinely helpful. Like he actually cared, and you can tell. And the reason is because, first of all, every car rental place, you go into an expectation that they're going to try to upsell you with insurance. They're going to try to add on whatever to your order. And he was like, look, if you drive more than X amount of miles, you probably want this because it's going to be cheaper for you because you're going to pay per mile here. If not, then just pay per mile, and that's better. Well, like, where do you think about going? And I was like, we probably will be less than that. He's like, great, that sounds good. Also, there's a spot, I know it's kind of late, but there's a spot that's really good food. A lot of people stop at, like right down the road. That's a nice place to grab food, but since most places tend to close a bit early. And so those little interactions were making me feel that he was genuinely very helpful, especially when our expectations were pretty low.
And what's interesting is like when someone is to ask you, where should I go on vacation? You're going to remember that note. You're going to remember the car rental. You're going to remember
this hotel. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you don't think about anything else once you had that personal experience.
Right.
On that note, is that something we keep talking about AI, right? I don't think that is replaceable.
I think this is now overemphasized and extra special because of all the AI stuff.
Right.
All the automated, the templates, the canned copy and paste this and that just gets sent out. But when there's the thoughtful little statement about something that was mentioned or whatever it was, I think it goes the extra mile. When we were on this tour, at the end of the tour, the guide bought us this pineapple rum bottle and was able to just gift us it at the end. And that was such a nice gesture as well, as just like small little gifts. I mean, maybe it was $10, $20, whatever it was, but it meant a lot more that he was able to do that and, say, hey, bring this home with you, like a special gift from us.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Do you guys do any gifting in that realm? You do a lot of holiday stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we try to go, we need to be better at it, but we'll take a list of like 150 of our VIP clients, agents, and they all get care packages. I just love like delighting and surprising some of our clients when they least expect it. So like knowing their kid sizes, like Jenna from our team always has onesies on her desk. I'm like, what are you doing with all these onesies? She's like, oh, I'm sending it to that client, that client, that client. They've got a kid, they got a kid. And, it definitely makes the difference, right? So yeah.
So I like those. I think the last thing here that I wanted to touch on is you texted me about this. You said, hey, we're trying these Jeff Bezos meetings here at Campus.ink. And so I want to, maybe you could explain what that is and then why and how it's been going.
Yeah. So there's a core group of us that meet as a leadership team to solve like the big problems at Campus.ink. And this isn't actually my idea. Adam brought it up. So I'll give Adam, shout out Adam Cook, gave us this idea. So in the first time we had this meeting, when we try to have leadership meetings, we try to work with a lot of structure and purpose so they don't turn into like rants or we don't go off topic. And so that's why I don't lead the meetings. We let either our CFO or someone else like keep us dialed. Anywho, so Adam was like, hey, when we do these leadership calls, what if ahead of the call, we write out our issues, and what if we wrote a memo about them? You know, and it's nothing too crazy, like answer these 8 questions. It might take you 15 or 20 minutes to write this memo, but before the meeting, everyone has to read all of the memos so that you can actually spend less time explaining the issue and more time solving the problem. Does that make sense? And so at Amazon, at all of these leadership meetings at Amazon, Jeff Bezos will have like a 15-page memo and everyone will sit silently for the first 20 minutes of the meeting and read it. And by reading that 15-page memo, everyone is on the same page. There doesn't have to be excessive explanation. Everything's thoughtful. There's ownership provided, and then they can start working on it. Because I think a lot of times we bring up issues as they become urgent and important to us. And then half the time is just explaining why it's important to someone else. And so like if you can do some pre-work on those meetings and you can get everyone to actually read them, you can have a much more effective meeting. So for instance, today we're running traction at Campus.ink here in an hour. It is a 4.5 hour meeting. We have a 10 to 15 page memo that our leadership team will read for the first 15, 20 minutes. And we were talking about it and we're like, should we give it to everyone ahead of time? And we're like, no, let's just all spend the first part of their meeting. So it's something we started a couple weeks ago. It takes routine and discipline, but we'll see how it goes.
We did something similar, but a little bit different. Was anytime there was a problem that came up or a strategic thing that we wanted to decide on, or, hey, we wanted to get into this, vertical or that, you had to then, yes, come prepared similarly with what your opinion was about it and then why you decided for each of these. Because the brainstorming meetings tend to not be as productive we had, and it allowed the person that brought the idea to the table to fully think out what their logic was instead of just throw out a problem and then we're just working through and may end up with the same solution. So sometimes you could easily self-solve this, or whoever's bringing it could self-solve it.
Part of the questions that Adam put in the memo were like, what are the key decisions here? And then what is your proposed solution? So when you write out your proposed solution, when we discussed it, everyone's like, yeah, we like that solution. All right, cool. Let's go. So like it does save a lot of time instead of kind of the peanut gallery approach.
I think a really practical one was also, I need a hire for this or that. So, hey, I'm overwhelmed. I need help here. Okay. Can you think through like, what are the reasons? Like, what would they help with? What is their roles and responsibility? Almost like a description of what this person is and what they're doing and why it would help. And that really helps think through this before just spitting things out. What's tends to happen.
Yeah, if anyone wants the template for the memos, shoot me an email, Steven@campus.ink, and I'll send it over to you. It's pretty tight. I've enjoyed it, and I'll let you know how it goes. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Awesome seeing you here. Awesome seeing you in Chicago. Print Hustlers, we appreciate you guys always joining us for a weekly episode of us diddle-dallying and chit-chatting about random stuff that's happening. We'll see you guys in next week's episode. Bye.